They raised a silver cup in the name of peace. Music filled the stone corridors, banners held high, the rumor that mercy had finally returned to the king's table. Two young lords, promises of stability for a fractured kingdom, smiled with the confidence of those who believe in the weight of a royal invitation. By dawn, their names were gray. Was it poison? An order whispered in the dark. Or something colder? Politics dressed as hospitality, legality performed before astonished eyes. Today we follow the paper trail of a dinner that Scotland transformed into legend, the Black Banquet, at Edinburgh Castle, 1440, and ask the question that courts always respect: who profited when scandal did what swords could not? Scotland, mid-15th century. The throne belongs to James II, 1437 to 1460, a child-crowned king. During his minority, power moved through regents, chancellors, and men who spoke on his behalf, signing, sealing, converting rumors into decrees. In that landscape of unstable alliances, one house rises above the others, the Black Douglases, proud, vast in lands and loyalties. At the forefront is William Douglas, 6th Earl of Douglas, a teenage heir with more patrons than many kingdoms could count. Beside him, his younger brother David Douglas, a political target by extension of the same blood. Edinburgh Castle, a symbol of royal security, should be neutral ground. Invitations reinforce the given word. Escorts seal the good faith. The table with dishes and music declares that a truce is possible. In the hall, Sir William Crichton, Chancellor of the realm and Governor of Edinburgh Castle during the minority of James II, a disciplined operator of the legal machinery, appears, flanked by his allies. Sir Alexander Livingston also circulates, the noble guardian of the young king, who controls access to his presence, and therefore, the order of the day. Amidst drums and platters, a servant places a boar's head before the Douglases, an omen of death in courtly code. In minutes, the performance becomes a verdict. The accusation of treason rises like a banner. A summary trial accelerates as if time could be contained in a breath, and the castle courtyard receives what the night had already decided. The king is a boy. The signatures belong to adults. But was it murder at the table, poison, ambush, superstition, or was it a matter of state disguised as a banquet? The chronicles disagree on the details, but the documents, when read in sequence, suggest something else. A. Planned removal of rivals staged with ritual to calm the city and frighten the undecided. It's not enough to hear what was said at the table. You need to trace who signed what in the weeks surrounding the dinner. Let's start with the paper. In later compilations of Scottish records, the names surrounding the crown in 1440 to 1441 form a predictable cast. Sir William Crichton, Chancellor and Governor of the castle. Sir Alexander Livingston, guardian of the king, and a constellation of dependents, who ascend as Douglas's influence wanes. Surviving royal letters do not confess to "we staged a dinner," but they confirm lands, renew offices, and consolidate revenues in the hands of men aligned with the Chancellor's party. The ink points the way forward. Chronicles help cautiously. Walter Bower, Abbot of Inchum, author of the continuations of the Scotta Chronicon, a voice close to the period and sensitive to monastic imagery, preserves the shock, the theatricality, the symbolism. George Buchanan, a 16th century humanist, a scholar with a sharp pen, but filtered through the disputes of his time, colors the account with judgments that were not those of 1440. Where the narrators diverge, the administrative accounting responds coldly. Lists of council members, confirmations, mentions of control over the king's body. Those who had keys now had more keys. And the justifications of the following day whisper politics, treason, peace, and stability, the king's security, elastic words that in court always stretch to shelter the victors. How do you extinguish a rival without setting the kingdom ablaze? Hospitality is employed. In late medieval Scotland, a banquet was a contract before an audience. The invitation functions as safe conduct. The hall under the king's coat of arms simulates neutrality. The table promises truce. So at the height of the ritual is twisted. The accusation is presented. The name of the boy king is invoked as authority. A summary trial unfolds. A decision is sealed. The space guarantees physical control. The form reading of positions, domesticated witnesses, seal, and signature provides a legal veneer. The boar's head may have been a real staging, perhaps a fondly remembered legend. If it was a legend, it serves a purpose. It condenses into an image the transmutation of mercy into sentence. If it was real, it was stagecraft, so that everyone would understand the shift in direction from promise to punishment. Why not a silent ambush on a road? Because publicity deters. A courtyard at dawn, flags at night. The use of the word treason as a hammer blows widens the scope of the example. You don't just eliminate two men, you educate dozens of lesser allies, you reorganize loyalties, you reprioritize oaths. Follow the incentive then. The minority faction needed to govern without being governed by magnates with private armies. The Black Douglas house under young William and his brother David loomed over the council like a long shadow. By removing the heirs at the top, you don't erase a house, you fracture its architecture. Vassals hesitate, collateral branches compete, rivals probe. In the months following the dinner, patterns of granting and confirmation of offices favor figures close to the chancellor. Control of the king's person, the right to see, speak, and have sign remains with those who orchestrated the right. The word treason becomes narrative glue. It presents to the nobility and the boroughs the idea that it was not a matter of convenience but of the kingdom's security. In court politics, the truth that matters is the one that circulates with a stamp. If it sticks, it governs. And by sticking, it opens space to redistribute positions, recall favors, and cool Douglas's ambition without the need for open war. Did it work? In the short term, yes. The Chancellor's party demonstrated its ability to act, and the boy king remained under its influence. The court learned a lesson in method. Performed legality solves what war would only aggravate, but staged violence exacts interest. Scotland did not become more lenient. It became more fluent in legal theater. The Douglases did not disappear. They regrouped, and the tension with the crown would resurface in new stages as James II grew. The night of 1440 set a precedent. When necessary, ritual governs. On a human level, two young men were made exemplary, their lives converted into a message. On an institutional level, the Regency gained the strength to arbitrate departments, licenses, and punishments under the guise of order. On a symbolic level, the triad banquet accusation, dawn in the courtyard, entered the manual of deterrence, ready to be remembered when the kingdom needed to show authority. Centuries later, ask about betrayal at the table, and two names frequently emerge: the Black Banquet of 1440 and Glencoe of 1692, when hospitality was also broken under justifications of state. Temporal distances do not prevent logic from connecting both, making the reception the stage for punishment, converting hospitality into a right of power. In folklore, the boar's head gained new tusks. In historiography, the archive remains cold. Walter Bauer, the abbot who continued the Scotochronicon, offers the thickness of what was remembered still with the scent of a lit candle. George Buchanan, a 16th-century humanist, recounts the disputes of his time in ink. Modern historians like Michael Brown, in *The Black*, Douglas's *, and Katie Stevenson, in *Power and Propaganda in Late Medieval Scotland*, re-examine the pieces, examining titles, attendance lists, concessions, and the grammar of the acts. The sober interpretation remains this: the stage was gastronomic, the act was governmental. We don't treat supper as superstition before administration, nor rumors of poison before politics. What was staged that night was a lesson. They called it mercy and recorded it as security for the kingdom. If a dinner could become a verdict, what can ink alone do? Seals, signatures, attestations? The court knows the power of paper as well as that of steel. In the next story, when we look at decrees that rewrite successions, we will see the same question repeated in a different guise. Who profited when calligraphy moved armies? Until then, remember, in palaces, justice often enters through the kitchen, sits at the table, removes its hood, and drinks last. If you want court scandals told like Dossier's document, Mechanism, Motive, Consequence, and Legacy, subscribe and check out the playlist.